Good evening, you're watching the news. The headlines at this hour. Horrific air pollution over Delhi on Diwali night, and this morning, flagrant violations of Supreme Court guidelines. A thick smog causes a 10-car crash on the Eastern Peripheral Highway. Doctors say brace for more respiratory cases. Even Chennai's air very poor indeed. "18 die in Bihar's spurious liquor tragedy. In all, 40 dead in the past 1 week. The Chief Minister defends prohibition. Sameer Wankhede is out of the Narcotics Control Bureau team investigating the Aryan Khan drugs case. He still remains in the Bureau and says he's told the court earlier that the matter needs to be probed by a central agency. Why this decision has been taken. Navjot Singh Sidhu takes back his resignation as Punjab Congress chief but issues a new ultimatum to his party. He says he'll return to his office when a new Advocate General is appointed. Is he picking who's going to be appointed? Several BJP leaders who'd gone to a temple in Haryana to watch the Prime Minister's telecast from Kedarnath find themselves surrounded by angry farmers. They manage to somehow get away. He's honest and has guts of steel, says Anushka Sharma on her husband Virat Kohli's 33rd birthday. The morning after Diwali, PM 2.5 levels are the highest in the last 3 years. What is PM 2.5? Well, these are some of the smallest particles in the air and which can in fact harm you more than other larger particles. It can cause lung cancer, respiratory distress, and a whole lot of other ailments. It's the highest in Delhi in the last 3 years. In fact, air quality in Delhi and surrounding areas slipped into the hazardous category as the cracker ban literally went up in smoke. Those with respiratory problems should still stay indoors. A man and a woman are critical after close to 20 vehicles collided on a major highway near Delhi, the Eastern Peripheral Highway, this morning in the smog of Delhi pollution. According to reports, a car crashed into a truck because of poor visibility near Greater Noida. Within seconds, more cars crashed into each other, leaving 6 people, including 2 children, injured, some of them quite seriously. The injured have been moved to a hospital in Faridabad. Several of the cars were almost completely wrecked. The police say it's a miracle no one has died. Well, a quick look at India's most polluted cities today. Cities in the severe air pollution category. In Noida, it was 471 severe. Remember, the safe mark should actually be less than 50. Look at Noida, 471. Jhind in Haryana, 471. Gurgaon, 470. Faridabad, 464. Delhi, 463. This is all dangerous to the health of citizens. The post-Diwali PM 2.5 levels were also the highest of the last 3 years, despite that ban in the NCR by the Supreme Court. In 2021, till 10 a.m. this morning, it was at 457. Compare that with 298 in 2020, 377 in 2019, but it was much higher in 2018 at 624.
A thick layer of smog engulfed the national capital a day after Diwali, as all the measures to implement a complete ban on firecrackers completely failed in Delhi and neighbouring places. It was the worst pollution level in the capital in 3 years. The health impact on the vulnerable and poor was swift. Like 51-year-old Riazuddin, a resident of Hapur near Delhi, is suffering from long COVID for the past 1 year.
1 साल पहले मुझे कोरोना हो गया था और मुझे परेशानी सांस लेने में जब से चल रही थी. कल से बहुत परेशानी हो रही है प्रदूषण से.
Sangeeta, a resident of a slum colony in South Delhi, says both of her children have been complaining about difficulty in breathing as the air pollution worsened.
वो थोड़ा खांसी वासी में प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, सांस लेने में, और आंखों में बहुत जलन हो रहा है, बच्चे बता रहे हैं, क्योंकि हम वैसे नहीं है विंडो बंद कर ले या हमारे चारों तरफ से बंद हो, हमारे वैसे ही घर है.
Amar, who works as a daily wage earner, is angry at those who broke the cracker ban, which he says cost the poor the most in terms of health.
जो बड़ा आदमी है, मकान में है, कमरे में है, उनको कोई दिक्कत नहीं आती। अब इन लोगों ने जैसे पटाखे फोड़े हैं तो उनने तो अपने दूसरे मंजिल पर फोड़ दिए, वो अंदर हो गए। प्रदूषण फैलेगा तो गरीब आदमी के बच्चे बीमार होंगे, गरीब आदमी बीमार होगा।
At LNJP, one of the largest COVID hospital in Delhi, preparations are being made to accommodate more patients with lung diseases. According to the hospital, the number of patients coming with complaints has seen an uptick of 20% in 1 week. Healthcare experts have predicted worsening of lung infections, especially among those recovering from post-COVID complications.
जिनको कि पल्मोनरी फाइब्रोसिस कोविड की वजह से हो गया और वो या तो स्टीरॉइड ले रहे हैं या ऑक्सीजन ले रहे हैं या उनको बहुत ज़्यादा ट्रीटमेंट की आवश्यकता होती है। इस सीजन में क्योंकि जो एयर पोल्यूशन है उससे उनकी प्रॉब्लम और बढ़ जाती है।
The Environment Minister of Delhi blamed the opposition for encouraging people to burst crackers during Diwali celebrations. The ban was supposed to be imposed by the Delhi police.
कुछ लोगों ने इंटेंशनली पटाखे जलवाए। भारतीय जनता पार्टी के नेताओं ने हर समय बयानबाजी की कि पटाखे जलने से कुछ नहीं होता, ये धर्म का मसला है।
It is just this year the entire country struggled with the number of COVID-19 cases that overwhelmed the entire healthcare infrastructure. While many are still struggling with its after effects, there are fears that the recent violation of firecracker ban may have plunged the entire Delhi NCR in a state of health care emergency again. With camera person Sudhish Kumar Ram and colleague Adnan in Hapur, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
The immediate reason for the devastating spike are fireworks. The government departments suffer app had forecast this. The situation was made worse with the stubble burning by farmers in Punjab, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh that continues. This combines with existing pollution sources like power plants, vehicles, open burning and cooling temperatures in addition to firecrackers. Today's forecast shows the pollution may start to clear from Sunday evening with winds picking up pace, but the air quality will still be very poor. 18 people have died in Bihar's spurious liquor tragedy. In all, 40 people have died in the last 1 week alone. The Chief Minister still defends his policy of prohibition.
An overcrowded hospital ward in Bihar's Gopalganj. In the last 2 days, 18 people have died after drinking spurious liquor. Those undergoing treatment say liquor is easily available despite prohibition.
पुलिस नहीं पकड़ती है। आज कुछ छूट के आया था। और परेशानी है कोई? क्या दिक्कत हो रहा है? परेशानी हो रहा है।
Parmeshwar's village Kushar has the police camping there and raids have led to large quantity of country-made liquor being seized. The local administration concedes due to panchayat polls, the supply and production of liquor has increased.
सरकार पैनी नजर रखी हुई है। ये लुक्का छिपी का खेल चल रहा है। मेरी सरकार कटिबद्ध है। जो लोग गलत कर रहे हैं वो कभी बख्शे नहीं जाएंगे।
But there have been 3 tragedies and 40 deaths in the last 1 week alone. The opposition RJD has criticized the Chief Minister's prohibition policy.
पूरा प्रचार तो एक और ज्यादा कैंपेन फिर से इसको प्रारंभ करना बहुत जरूरी है। लोगों को एक एक जगह बताना कि बहुत गंदी चीज है, शराबबंदी लागू है।
But the Chief Minister is sticking to prohibition despite past and new evidence that it rarely, if ever, works. With Manish Kumar in Patna, in New Delhi, Rika Roy for NDTV.
Well, Sameer Wankhede, the Narcotics Control Bureau officer leading the investigation into the Aryan Khan drugs case and against whom allegations of an 8 crore payoff and extortion have been made, has been removed from the investigating team. A special investigating team will now be led by a senior police officer, Sanjay Singh, who takes over the case. Mr. Wankhede has been at the centre of a major controversy after allegations made by the Maharashtra Minister Nawab Malik and, more importantly, from one of the witnesses, Prabhakar Sahil, in this case. Joining me for more on this, NDTV Saurav Gupta. So, Saurav, as I understand it, Sameer Wankhede still remains in the Narcotics Control Bureau, but he doesn't handle this case. Is that right?
Absolutely right. There are these cases that have been removed from it. This includes the case that involves
a raid on a cruise ship in Mumbai. The other case, of course, involves a relative of Nawab Malik, the NCT minister, who also was arrested in a case. Later, of course, he got bail from the Bombay High Court. And, of course, a study report from a lab showed that perhaps some of the stuff that they claimed to seize as contraband was not actually contraband. But the Narcotics Control Bureau sources say they have other evidence in this case. Now, what does this mean for Sameer Wankhede? Does he lose his position? No. He only has to not investigate these particular cases, which will be handled by the senior officer from Delhi, which is, of course, the NCT's headquarters. And in the other sense, Sameer Wankhede sort of moves away from this probe, while this vigilance probe also carries on simultaneously against him. Now, on the other hand, of course, there are other cases that he will continue to investigate. Now, of course, Sameer Wankhede has been saying that he's not been removed, that he himself has asked for some cases to be transferred, and that's the result of this. But at the end of the day, these were high-profile investigations that he was conducting. Those cases have been taken away from him, and these will be investigated by a senior officer now.
All right, Saurabh, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us. In Punjab, Navjot Singh Sidhu today said that he's taking back his resignation as Punjab Congress chief, but he lost no time in serving a new ultimatum to his party. He said he will return to his office when a new Advocate General is appointed.
राहुल जी और प्रियंका जी दे सिपाही ने अपना इस्तीफा वापस लिया. I have taken back my resignation and I categorically state कि जिस दिन नवे एडवोकेट जनरल बन गए और नवा पैनल आ जाएगा, मैं जाके ऑफिस अपना चार्ज संभाला. It was not any personal ego. ਇਹ ਹਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਸਾਫੇ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਸੀ.
All right, Navjot Singh Sidhu over there issuing fresh demands. Will his party leadership actually accept that as well? The BJP Rajya Sabha MP Ramchandra Jangra has faced protests by farmers in Haryana's Hisar district in a situation that got out of control when he'd gone there to attend a program of a community there, the Jangar community. The police had a tough time in controlling the farmers who blocked the entry of to the program venue, and somehow the MP managed to leave his vehicle through a windshield. That this is the same vehicle they were sitting in over there, completely surrounded, that situation getting terrible. The MP had earlier said protesters are jobless drunks. Farmers also blocked the national highway in a village and started a dharna at a police station in Nanod town in the Hisar district.
कोई विरोध नहीं है, वो तो निकम्मे लोग हैं. वो गांव में दारूबाज और निकम्मे लोग हैं, निठल्ले लोग, ना वो घर के बस के, ना वो गांव के बस के. वो बैड एलिमेंट है, उनका यही काम है.
राजनेताओं के प्रति आक्रोश है और लोगों की भावना है कि जो राजनेता हमारे विरुद्ध कानून बना रहे हैं वो हमारी आंखों के सामने नहीं आने चाहिए. वो प्रोग्राम ना करें, वो जनता के बीच में ना आए, वो अपने दफ्तर में बैठ के काम करें. जो करना जनता के बीच में उनका काम भी नहीं होता. ये हमें किसी से कोई द्वेष नहीं है. सभी जातियां परमात्मा की बनाई हुई है, हमारे प्यारे हैं, एक जैसे हैं. लेकिन नेता वहाँ के क्या करता है? नेता उस समाज का नुमाइंदा नहीं है, उस समाज का प्रधान नहीं है.
Well, let's take a look at COVID numbers and the COVID cases. There are 12,729 fresh cases. That's 1.2% lower than yesterday. Cases in the last 24 hours are at 12,729, down 1.2%. Deaths in the last 24 hours at 221, down 52%. The number of vaccinations at 19,77,946 vaccinations just today. That's up 251.17%. Tests in the last 24 hours are down 37.18%. The daily positivity rate is up slightly, but it's less than 2% for the last 42 days. The top 5 countries which have seen the highest surge in COVID cases: the United States at 82,107 cases. That's down, however, to 26.84%. There have been 1,145 deaths as well. Russia cases down to 39,117, but deaths at 1,165. That's up 0.69%. The United Kingdom, 37,566 cases and 219 deaths. Turkey, 29,482 cases and 228 deaths. And then Brazil at 13,352 cases Deaths at 436, that's up 39.2%. Scientists may have identified a specific gene that doubles the risk of respiratory failure from COVID-19 and may go some way to explaining why some ethnic groups are more susceptible to severe disease than others. Researchers from the University of Oxford found that a higher risk version of the gene most likely prevents the cells lining airways and the lungs from responding to the virus properly. About 60% of people with South Asian ancestry carry this version of the gene, compared with 15% of people with a European heritage, according to the study which was published on Thursday. The findings help explain why higher rates of hospitalization and death may have been seen in certain communities and on the Indian subcontinent.